welcome to our mini lesson on oligopolies. We love learning economics and hope you do too. I'm Mrs. Market Share.
I'm Mr. Collusion.
I'm Miss Demand.
We'll start with Miss Demand.
Actually, we'll start with Mr. Collusion.
Firstly, before we go in, I'd like to start by defining some characteristics of oligopolies. I think the main characteristic of oligopolies is that oligopolies are competition amongst just a few main players. That is not an economical term, so don't use it. Another characteristic of an oligopoly is there are high barriers to entry and exit. This means it's hard to get into an oligopoly or out of it. Another one is that oligopolies contain non-price competition. This is such things like 2-for-1 deals, advertising, and loyalty cards, which I'm sure many of you have from shops you use. Now there are three big characteristics, like the main three. These are collusion, which we'll go into in a minute, the kink demand curve, which will be explained later as well, and abnormal profit. Now profit is revenue minus costs. The abnormal profit is the profit you make plus the opportunity cost. And now we'll hear from Mr. Mark.
Because there are only a few major players, this makes the oligopoly a concentrated market, which means, for example, about 4 to 7 firms have over 50% of the market share. Often firms use economies of scale, which also means that sometimes they buy out firms to gain more market share. In the kink demand curve, you can see that there's a lot of price interdependence, which also makes prices inflexible. Which, for example, in real life, it means if a firm puts their price too high, which could be about here, then because the demand is relatively elastic, it means that they might lose money, or they won't be making as much money as if it was by the kink, which is mainly why the demand curve of an oligopoly is shaped this way. We will now be hearing from...
I will talk about why oligopolies are the least desirable form of market. This is because oligopolies are inefficient. They do not satisfy the triple equality for economic efficiency, which is P equals MC equals minimum ATC. Price equals marginal cost equals minimum average total cost. They're not productively efficient, as price is greater than minimum ATC. This means that they're not productively efficient and they make abnormal profit and are not using their profit as productively to produce as efficiently as possible. They're also not allocatively efficient, as price is greater than marginal cost, and this means that they are not using their profit to produce at the next level, even though they could. Basically, firms in oligopolies neither produce in the least costly way, nor produce the right amount of a product according to society's needs. At this price, output is below the output at which minimum ATC is reached. There is an under-allocation of resources. Oligopolies are also not regulated as much by government as pure monopolies, so there is nobody to make sure that they're working inefficiently. Furthermore, there are some arguments in favor of oligopolies. Because the prices generally stick around the kink in the demand curve, the consumer can rely on them not to fluctuate too much. Getting abnormal profit also means that there's money left over for technological advances and research, allowing for better production techniques and products, improving the quality of life of the consumer. Also, because of increased foreign competition that we've been seeing with globalization, more competitive pricing has been stimulated, meaning that there are lower prices, better products, and that these products are also more differentiated for the consumer.
Now I'd like to talk about collusion in oligopolies. There are two forms of collusion. There is formal collusion and there is non-formal collusion. The formal collusion is when there's a written agreement between the major players in the oligopoly. This means that they all must stay around a certain price and they cannot start price wars. This is also illegal and many authorities try and stop this. The other form of collusion is non-formal collusion. This is a verbal agreement between companies and is much harder to find out than the written agreement. An example of collusion in oligopolies that you might want to look for yourself is on bbc.co.uk, and you search Italy investigates pasta makers over price fixing. This is where Italian financial police have investigated 5 main pasta companies in Italy for forms of collusion.
Another form of collusion is tacit collusion. Tacit collusion can come in many forms. One is price leadership, which is when one firm changes its prices, usually raises them, and the others follow. This is also known as price interdependence. So basically when companies move their prices according to how the other major players in the market move their prices. And because of the kink demand curve where prices are relatively stable and they stick around one area, price interdependence is almost inevitable. Another form of tacit collusion is a gentleman's agreement, which is a handshake over golf. So nothing's written down on paper and nothing's being done actually illegally, but it's still collusion and they're still agreeing on prices. Also, sending employees to one another's shop to check price, quantity, and range is another form of tacit collusion.
The reason firms want to collude is because since all the firms have their prices in the same region, which is by the kink of the demand curve, which means that the prices don't generally fluctuate, so firms want to collude to make sure that their prices are in the same region, in the same area, so that one firm isn't gaining more than the other, well, slightly more, slightly less, but not a lot more. And it also, the more they collude, the more that they are working as some kind of, that they're moving towards a monopoly, which is better for their industry. Thank you for watching our video.
Thank you.
Bye!
Thank you very much.